everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here then welcome. As you've seen from the title, today I'm going to be sharing some crazy guest stories from working at Disney World. I've done these videos a few times before and actually probably my most popular videos on my channel, but at the end of the day I only worked at Disney World for 2 summers, so a total of like 5-6 months. There's only a limited amount of stories you can really make in that time. So I reached out to people on Instagram to see if they had any stories they wanted to share, and luckily a bunch of people pulled through. So today I'm going to be sharing their stories with you guys, so I hope you enjoy this. If you are new here, please be sure to subscribe down below. There will be many more story times and all kinds of content coming very soon, which I hope you enjoy as well. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Further ado is such a strange phrase, like what's ado? So the first story comes from a cast member at the Disney store. So not actually at Disney World, it's a little bit different. But she said, I was a cast member in the Disney store, but one day I was on the till and there was this kid running around, as usual, and knocking everything off the shelf. My manager asked them to stop and gave them a sticker, but they had a full-blown meltdown, screaming and yelling and kicking. The father picked his child up off the floor and bashed her head on the chandelier that was hanging on the ceiling. I heard a big crash and half of the chandelier had fallen down. Cute child screaming in pain and father being like, oh. Anyway, I went over to see if everything was okay and offered to get a wet cloth for the kid's head. The dad blew his top. He was shouting at me for the chandelier being too low down, bearing in mind most of our cast members need a stepladder to get up and clean it, and that we should have a sign saying not to put kids on your shoulders. I stood there a little taken aback when my manager came over and started explaining about the health and safety, and not many people have their kids on shoulders, and he asked for head office numbers. Nothing really came of it, but it was just another example of people being entitled in the Disney store and not being able to accept their mistakes. Ooh, tea! I can so see that happening because guests always want to blame the cast when things go wrong. It's never their fault. Yeah, this has happened many a time, even though Disney's like the safest store, the safest park, the safest place to be arguably in the world. People still have accidents and they will blame it on the cast. So this next story is from a character attendant, and she said, I got reported once while working with Belle in Epcot at Christmas. So she was in her Christmas dress. The guest was mad and called me rude for dressing Belle in that dress and not the gold one. What the heck? I said Belle dresses herself with assistance from the wardrobe, not me. They then stood behind me as I continued to say the line is closed for this set and the next appearance was at a set time. They said, we're gonna come back. 30 minutes later, Belle's on her last family, no one's there, and the family comes back. And I said the line was closed and be back in 25 minutes. They screamed at me as they had been in the line for an hour, and I should have said something sooner. Belle left, so I'm dealing with them as they continue to scream about how rude I am for putting her in that disgusting red dress, and I should be ashamed. Walt would have her in the gold dress or nothing. They said they can't wait to go to guest relations about you. And the best thing is, in Epcot, Belle never meets in the gold dress outside in France. So true, she meets in her Blue Village dress. Okay, so many things about this story I love. Firstly, moaning at the character attendant, not the character. It's happened so many times. The character is the one who's like, the experience. Why are you moaning at the attendant? They just literally stand there and monitor the line. Also, I love when people pull the Walt card and they're like, Walt wouldn't have done this. It's like, lady, have you ever met Walt before? Like, I don't think he was the god that everyone thinks. Like, he's an amazing guy, but that's one thing that gets me about people being like, oh, Disneyland is Walt's park. Well, Disney World would have been Walt's resort if he hadn't smoked like 50 cigarettes a day. No shade. But you know what I mean? He wanted to be there. Magic Kingdom was what he truly wanted a Disney park to be like. Epcot was his dream. Don't tell me he would have preferred Disneyland over that. So this next story is from a friend of mine who did outdoor food at one of the parks. She's asked not to be credited, which I understand. And she said, I'm not sure whether this is crazy, but my first ever training shift, they didn't say we had to do anything to process dining plan snacks and meals differently. So I assumed it just happened automatically. For about 2 hours when I was on the register, I was charging snacks to guest magic bands without realizing. It probably affected about 50 guests, and when my trainer finally told me how to do it properly, I was mortified and couldn't bring myself to say anything because I feared they would fire me. I didn't tell anyone about it until I left the program. Oh dear. I mean, we've all made mistakes, but I bet those guests were so mad when they saw those values showing up on their like credit at the end of the day. But yeah, basically when guests ask to use something as a snack, you have to press a certain button. But they wouldn't know if you did charge it to their room as like the value amount, because they don't see that kind of bill until the end of the day or maybe the end of their vacation stay. So there's no way of knowing. Oh, I feel so bad for you, but everyone does make mistakes, it's very true. I just hope there was no families with like 10 snacks or something, because that would be quite bad, because those snacks can be like $5 each, like, ooh, okay, moving swiftly on. This next one really made me laugh when I read it. Okay, so this next story comes from a guy who was working at Rafiki's Planet Watch. He said, because I said at my interview that my favorite park was DAC, but I'd never had pets, the obvious place to put me was in a job talking about all the animals they had on the reserve. That's so awesome. I didn't know that they could place people at Rafiki's Planet Watch doing that kind of thing. At the conservation station, one of the positions was talking about the daily vet procedures on the animals that came in, and they had a window where guests could watch live each morning. One of our rotations was commentating on what was going on. I got in on a Wednesday morning, first shift of the week, and the briefing I got was that we had a roux coming in. Superb, I thought, especially as, you know, all US guests reckon us Brits all have Aussie accents. So true. I've been told so many times like, oh, are you Australian? I'm like, no, like I don't hear it. Like, I do know that my voice can slip into more like American twang at times when I'm trying to talk to the American guests, but like it happened a lot. I'm gonna say at least every week, probably like every couple days, sometimes multiple times a day. Anyway, back to the story. Then when they brought the roux in, I had a quick chat with the vet nurse where she proceeded to share what was about to occur. I had a line of kids all eyeing up the window, and the procedure she was about to carry out at Rafiki's Planet Watch was a kangaroo castration. Oh dear. A parent asked me to share what was going on. The rest was history. Oh my, that would be so awkward. At least you know they're doing like legit work there, I guess. Oh, I can't even imagine having to share that. Disney's not where you want to see that. Ooh, the next story is a classic. I was working at Typhoon Lagoon on my spring 2017 DCP when this lady came by my food stand and started smoking. I politely went up to her and asked her to stop and directed her to the nearest smoking section. Oh, we've all done that before. So she agreed and went there. 2 hours later, this same lady comes back to the same stand and is smoking again, but this time tries to start a conversation with me to distract me from the fact that she was smoking. But I in fact very much saw and smelled it. Without being rude and interrupting her trying to talk, I asked her to stop yet again. She walked away and never came back. That was 2 years ago and still cracks me up. Oh my god. This gets me so mad, but also it's really funny. I know they've just banned like smoking altogether in the parks, good luck reinforcing that. But I had to tell guests a few times about the smoking thing. One time this guest was standing in like a little kind of corner, you could tell they were trying to hide it, and it was raining so bad so no one else was around. And I noticed this guy and I was like, you know what? You shouldn't be smoking there. There are 2 designated sections of Hollywood studios for smoking. This is not one of them. So I waddled over my little rain mac, wearing my blueberry costume at the time, like a little yellow bow tie and shorts. And I was just like, I'm gonna tell this guy what I think. So I go up and I say, oh, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry, you can't smoke here. There are designated smoking areas. And he was like, oh, really? I didn't know that. That's why you were hiding. I didn't say that, but you know. And I was like, yeah, these are the 2 spots. Like, you go into Tower of Terror and there's gonna be one on the right, and that's gonna be like your closest one. And he was like, oh, that's crazy. In England, we're allowed to smoke anywhere. I'm from England, sir. And no, you can't. In England, you definitely can't smoke inside like restaurants and public places. Like, I know the rules and you know them too. Don't try and pull a fast one on me. I know a friend of mine actually had a case where so the guest was standing like around the back of this store we have called Stage 1, and it looks kind of like a backstage area because there's a big gate, but it's not like anyone's allowed to be there. And the guest was standing there smoking like, and then they were like puffing the smoke into their bag like seriously, what are you doing? And my friend went over and was like, oh, excuse me, you're allowed to smoke. And she's like, I wasn't smoking. Like, come on now. But yeah, so many stories of guests trying to get away with smoking. We will see, and yeah, I am very interested to see how they enforce the no smoking rule in the parks park-wide, because that was hard enough when they were allowed in certain spots. This next story is actually super sweet. So it's a girl who was on a cultural exchange program from Australia, and she was working in Frontierland merchandise. She said, "We get a lot of marching band kids hanging around near there, since they either start or finish by Splash Mountain. I was talking in Briar Patch, where you usually greet guests for an hour until someone needs a bump out or a chow." I love area specific lingo like that. Like when I worked on Main Street USA, when you needed to go for like a bathroom break or just a regular break, you had to say, "Oh, I'm gonna go fly a kite." So anyway, this person is tasking. She said, "That's when I met these high schoolers playing in a marching band. I did the usual conversation starter of asking what instruments they play and went from there, until they found out that I studied music at university. Classical music, to be precise. And then suddenly, one of the girls whips out her phone and shows me a picture of a pretty standard VI perfect cadence and asks for help." Maybe that's an instrument. And that's how I ended up sitting in one of the rocking chairs and giving a musical theory lesson on cadences and traditional harmony for half an hour in the Briar Patch. See, that's incredible. That's a great cast member story. Cast members going above and beyond, making you have a good day. Like, that's what we're here for. We want to make you feel happy. We want to improve your day even beyond what you thought was possible. Like, when you put us in this situations, we will go above and beyond. Oh, my heart is warmed by that one. Okay, this last one is a long one, so let's get going. So it's actually a friend of mine, and she said that she was at her home location. We're not gonna say where, because we don't wanna get people in trouble. And one of the floor stockers, who was a new CP, that's a college program kid, comes up to me and is like, "There are 2 kids who are in my area with no parents, and one of them's only about 2. So we go and ask them where their family is, and they say they're on a ride." So obviously I call a leader and explain the situation. We then set up a blanket and get a storybook out, which was a common magical moment in our location to entertain the kids, whilst my leader sorted out the whole situation. 5 minutes later, another girl turns up and is like, she's the big sister, and tells us that no, her family is just in the restroom. Clearly they weren't, as it had been more than 20 minutes at this point. We continue reading to the girls with the older girl turned around, who was clearly angry at us. We gain quite a crowd at the blanket and have many other kids join us. Maybe 10 minutes later, my leader has contacted security, so it turns out a mum left her 3 kids in a store for over 30 minutes while she went on a ride, which is 100% not acceptable. Me and the other cast member laughed it off and were like, thank God we don't have to deal with that situation. Post fireworks, I'm walking around the store stocking and I see these kids with ice cream all over their mouths running around with plush and toys like lunatics. And I'm like, who are they? They were literally all holding about 5 toys each and rubbing their faces in the plush, basically just being very, very rude. I saw this so many times of like sticky kids and having their hands all over the merchandise. Like, come on parents, wipe them up. Like, just don't let that happen. We have to damage it out. It's a complete waste. Please don't do it. And in this situation, there is again no mother with them and there is nothing we can say to the kids. Another 20 minutes passes and the store is almost all clear, and it's the same kids as before that were left in the store alone, but this time with their mum, and they're going crazy in the store, their mother doing nothing to stop them. They're literally the last people out of the store. We've had to damage out a ridiculous amount of items and they bought nothing. Moral of the story is that cast members are not babysitters, and just because you're in Disney World doesn't mean you don't have to be respectful and look after your children. Tea. Oh my God, the amount of people that just expect us to look after their kids. Like, no, you are there as a family together, sort it out, do stuff that you're all going to enjoy. Don't expect cast members to take care of them. So that is all the stories for now. The light is quickly fading from the sky, which is where the sun is. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you have a story you want me to share on the channel, feel free to message me on Instagram or Twitter or any social media platform. I'm there. Far too much. Probably shouldn't be, but I am. Be sure to subscribe down below for more videos like this, and I hope you have a magical rest of your day. Also, quick fact, when a cast member tells you to have a magical day, they're genuinely being nice. Like, I don't like this theory that it's a really rude comment. It's a nice thing to say. So with that being said, I hope you have a magical rest of your day and I will see you next time. Bye!